Hey, this is Jared and you're watching Backroad Exploration. Today I'm excited to showcase what I'm calling my functional Lexus GX460 Overland Build. The reason that I went with functional is because clearly if you look at the GX, you can see that this isn't a massively built rig. I'm a regular guy with a regular job. I'm building this over an extended period of time. We picked up the GX460 last year. We've put over 20,000 miles on it. It's been all the way to the Pacific Northwest, deep into the deserts in Utah, and everywhere in between there around the Utah area. And I'm really pushed it to its limits in its current configuration. I'm really impressed with what it can do. I want to show it off, kind of show you what a functional build looks like where you can get out, go with your family on some really incredible adventures without having to have a massively overbuilt rig. Now I will be clear, I do plan on adding more to the build over time. This will probably be a 3-part series over the next few years. But right now it's in its functional stage. I want to showcase what that looks like, give you an idea of what you can do with the GX in this type of a configuration. So let's take a look. Now, anytime you're doing an overland build, you really want to start from the ground up as you build. If you're familiar with the Lexus GX460, you know that it comes with huge rims from the factory. I think they're 18 or 19 inch rims. Street tires makes them great on the road, and a comfortable driving luxury SUV, which is what the GX460 is, but terrible for off-road performance. So if you're gonna make updates to that, the good thing about the GX460 is it is a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado inside of a Lexus body kit. So it has a lot of room to be able to make off-road and overland type upgrades, and it works really, really well. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to move to a 17-inch rim. I went with TRD Pro takeoffs. I like these because they're inexpensive. A lot of guys who have TRD Pro Tacomas and 4Runners are taking these off. The lug patterns match. They're getting rid of them, so you can pick them up on your classifieds brand new for really inexpensive, which is what I wanted to do. I also think that they look good, and when you start comparing the prices to other 17-inch rims, it just made total sense to me. They are wrapped around 255/80 R17 Falcon Wild Peak AT3Ws. That's a mouthful. I really like these tires. I've ran them before. I had them on my Jeep before we moved to the GX460. So I have ran these for over a year on the 460, and I had them for like 18 months on my Jeep before that. They have been all over the deserts and mountains in Utah. I've had 0 failures. They have really good traction. I think they really excel in hard packed ground with snow on it or on the pavement with snow. I think they're an excellent tire. They are a snow rated tire. The only area in which I found them to be a little bit lacking is when you get into really, really deep snow. I feel like the spacing between the lugs is a little too tight, so that one, they don't have quite as much bite, and they don't sipe quite as well as I would like. But the reality is if you're doing a ton of deep snow driving, you really want to have a mud terrain tire or a tire that's geared towards that type of snow driving. For everyone else, I live in Utah. We get lots of snow. It's snowing a little bit right now, and these are exceptional in every scenario that I've ran into. In addition to getting more ground clearance from the tires, I also wanted to give more room with an upgraded lift kit. I've added the Old Man Emu 3-inch lift. This is the entry-level lift that they have, and honestly, I've been super impressed with it. In the front, I went with a 400-pound increase in the spring. Initially, I did that because I was going to be adding a front bumper right away. We opted to not do that right away, and so the front is a tiny bit stiffer than I would like. I notice when the vehicle is, geared down and we're going out on an adventure, then it feels really, really good. When it's just me cruising around in town, it's a teeny bit stiffer than I would like, but that's because I put in that stiffer spring from the beginning. Off-road, these are really, really well-built springs. The thing that's really nice about Old Man Emu is you're talking about gear that has been tested over and over and over again in the harshest environments. It's relatively inexpensive, and it just plain works. When you're doing a 3-inch lift, depends on who you're talking to. Sometimes they tell you don't need to change your control arm. Sometimes you do to get your proper alignment and stuff. I did get upgraded control arms as well, just at the same time. So I've got a 3-inch lift. I think it looks really good. There's lots of ground clearance. I've been impressed with just how much I've been able to drive. A popular mod to the GX460 is to do a front bumper cut, which gives you a better approach angle. I do plan on doing that at some point, but I haven't done it yet. And honestly, I've been surprised that I haven't needed to do it yet. Overall, just between the suspension upgrade and the tires, a lot of space and a lot of room to work with as far as ground clearance and capability off-road. The next most important thing for a functionality standpoint for my family is having a roof rack. This isn't just to look cool. We absolutely need a roof rack with our family out on our adventures. We did a multi-day adventure this past spring down into Monument Valley and Valley of the Gods. We're out for multiple days. I'm out there with my wife and our children, and we're using every inch of storage capacity that the GX has, including putting up 2 bins up on top of the rack and putting our tent up there. So I have to have a rack up there. I'm running the Prinsu Designs rack. They're out of the CBI umbrella company. There's a few things that I really like about this rack. There's a few things that I don't like. I do recommend it if you're looking for a rack. It's a modular design. It's easy to put together. We put it together in an afternoon in our garage, which was nice. I just did that with my boys. The only thing I don't really love is I miss having a rail kind of that goes around the sides. My previous rack had that. This design just doesn't have that, and I didn't realize that I would miss it as much as I do. It was kind of nice to just push bins up against that rail and then strap everything down. This has a tiny bit of a lip, but not enough that you can secure it that way. You really just have to secure both ends of things. So that's the one downside to it, but it's quality materials. It's a great company that's coming out with innovative designs, which is a thing that I really like. And it was easy to put together. It was something we could do on our own. So that's the rack that I'm running. Now I'm running the Ironman 4x4 awning. This is the only piece of the build that I do not recommend. It's not that the materials are bad, they're actually good. It's just the design. They're not the only one that make a design like this. I just bought the wrong awning. I want something that I can deploy really quickly. So that like we stop in Utah in the desert, it's hot, there's no shade sometimes. I want to be able to just whip it out, eat really quick in the shade, and then fold it back up. The way that this deploys, it, in my opinion, takes 2 adults, or at least my kids aren't quite tall enough that they can hold the poles in the area that I want and stuff. And so setting it up by myself is enough of a pain that unless I'm staying at camp for an extended period of time, which is not how I usually travel, I just don't end up using it as much as I would like to. And because of that, I feel like I have the wrong thing. Eventually I'll make an upgrade, but for now I'm keeping with it. It does work. And like I said, the materials are good. I just wish that it was a little bit easier to deploy. Moving to the rear of the GX, one of my favorite upgrades that I have made to it, and I wish I would have done at the very beginning, is this Nash Fabco ladder. When I moved from the Jeep to the GX, one of the things I found myself missing the most when we were camping is having my rear spare tire carrier with my Trasharoo on it. I'm traveling with kids, I've got stinky diapers, all kinds of stuff like that, and because of that, like, I just want to obviously have that outside of the vehicle, but we want to take care of our trash. And what I was doing up to this point is I would have a bin and I would be having a garbage can in there, and it was just kind of a pain. I was always having to move the bin around, and I was really missing having a place to mount a Trasharoo. So while this ladder is handy and it mounts to the bottom, it's a non-drill ladder. So it utilizes the bumper here. That's where all the pressure goes as far as the weight goes when you're climbing up and down it. But I like the design. They have a couple of accessories so that you can add things. But frankly, the main reason that I got this is I wanted a way to be able to mount a Trasharoo to the rear of my vehicle so that I can take care of that trash when we're out. It does have some cool features though. It has these quick release pins. So if you want to access your rear hatch, you still can. Fold that down and you can still access the hatch here, which I think is a really cool, clever design. And it goes up nice and easy. I've noticed that a lot of people actually will just run the half ladder on both sides and just use it to mount accessories like their roto packs and things like that. The GX doesn't have a very big fuel tank and it has a V8, so it's kind of a gas guzzler. I intend on using this with roto packs as well as our Trasharoo or some type of a spare tire trash carrier on our adventures moving forward. This is something I wish I would have got right when we got the GX, and I love that it's a no drill design. I can simply just take it off if we decided we didn't want to have it anymore. So the next 2 areas of our functional build that were really important to me, one, I wanted to have a fridge setup that I could remove nice and easy. A lot of times we need this for running our family around, and so when we're doing different things like family and stroller, I don't want a fridge in there, so I need to be able to take it out nice and quickly. I also wanted to be able to just have more storage in the inside of the GX. When you're going on adventures with a family, you just have tons of gear, and any amount of storage that you can come up with is awesome. And so I've added a couple of pieces in here that I like that help with those 2 things. The first thing is I have the ProSpeed rack up here. It goes across man, these things are so handy. Your gear tends to pyramid when you're building it and putting it in the back. And so the top of your gear just kind of pyramids in. I love having a rack there that's up there that I can put gear. It's nice to stuff like jackets and things that are kind of bulky that you also want access to. We'll put our packing cubes for clothes will go up there. You put those, some of your jackets, and you're getting stuff that you want a quick access to. It's really handy to be able to just grab it off of that platform, but not necessarily have to be unloading the whole rig to get to your stuff. So to me, that was a really important thing. Now, moving to this side, I want to have a fridge setup that works, that's functional for our family. Right now, I'm utilizing the Set Power fridge. This is the only piece of equipment in this build that was given to me. I previously had an Ice Cube fridge. I like this one better, so I've gotten rid of the Ice Cube and I have the Set Power. I like that it has this nice hard case. It's really nice and easy to clean. That was my main thing. It is also, you know, 20% bigger than my old one, and so that helps as our family's getting bigger. We have more storage capacity in there. I built my own little platform that it sits on with the slider so that I can just pick the whole thing up and take it out, and then I can put it in and it straps down using the factory tie down points. So it's nice and secure when we're off road, but it's also easy to take out when we're not utilizing it. But man, having a fridge is just a game changer for a family. I know when it comes to fridges, a lot of people are like, that's not something I need. I'll be honest, I was that person. I thought that's ridiculous, it's too much money. Now I wish I would have got one way sooner. I have been exploring for years without one, and the past year and a half that I've had one, it's just been so much more convenient. I absolutely love having a fridge as a part of my overlanding setup. You can get ones that are really inexpensive. If you're a weekend warrior like me, this Set Power fridge is like $400, $500. It's really inexpensive compared to some of the fancier fridges. And not that I have anything against any of those, just some of them are 3 to 4 times as expensive. For example, like a National Luna is gonna have to run at least 3 times as long as this fridge to make up the offset and the pricing difference. So it's one of those things where I chose to go with a less expensive one. It works great for our families. I'm really happy with it. From a storage capacity standpoint, this is a 45-liter fridge. It has lots of capacity for anywhere between 3 to 4 days. If you're eating a lot of dried goods, you could go even longer if all you were doing was putting, like, you know, what had to stay cool in here. Most of the time on my trips, when I'm doing overnighters, I'll literally put everything in the fridge, as long as it's not something I don't want cold, because it's just so handy to have it all stored in one place, out of the way, safe, and contained. So I'll actually put even kind of dry goods in the fridge a lot of times just as a storage thing. As far as power goes for the fridge, I don't run a dual battery setup. To me, that just adds a lot of extra complexity to your vehicle's electrical system. The Lexus is already complicated enough. It doesn't need anything weird like that, in my opinion. Plus, I like having the ability to have a portable power system. So I use a Jackery 300. It's been fantastic. It'll run for, in a hot weather, 20 to 24 hours, be able to keep the fridge nice and cool before it needs charged. I just charge it off of the vehicle while we're driving. Most of our trips we're pulling in the evening. We camp that night, get up in the morning, have breakfast, do some exploring, and then hit the trail and move to our next camp, which gives it plenty of time to charge. If you're gonna be more of like a base camper, you're gonna have to get a bigger either power system or be able to charge it with solar or some other type of method. But for us, this works really well. If I was going to do anything different, maybe long term, I would get a little bit bigger one. I initially purchased it because it was the only one that fit underneath the seat of the Jeep. With the GX, I actually just put it back here in a little corner, and that works great. But having a little bit bigger power pack wouldn't hurt my feelings, but is definitely not something that I'm gonna do until this one wears out or isn't working anymore. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what about bumpers? What about skid plates? What about sliders? You know, what about a light bar? There's so many things that you can add to your build, but the thing that I really wanted to showcase is, and the reason I want to showcase the functional stage is I've been on incredible adventures in this configuration, and there's so many more I plan on going on before I make more of those upgrades. In fact, the next phase of the build for me is really actually going to be more about comforts, little things that make the trip and the camping piece of our adventures more comfortable before I really tackle heavier capability things like bumpers covers and skid plates and things like that. Heck, I still have the factory rails on here. They are low hanging, and I've been surprised with how far I've been able to go. Now, I don't suggest that you go bang those against anything. They're plastic, they are going to break. And I do plan on adding sliders at some point in time, but that's not even the next probably 1 or 2 things on my list, because I've just been able to prove on my adventures that this functional build is exceptionally capable as is. And I want to focus on adding more comforts for our family and then start moving to that capability. So, in summary, I've been loving the GX460. It's an incredible vehicle. It's so nice to drive. It's great on the pavement and off-road, and I hope that you enjoyed this functional overland build. If you have questions about any of the components or configuration, please jump into the comments and let me know. If you have suggestions for things that have really made your builds more comfortable, things that you've liked, I want to hear about those as well. Some of the ideas that I get from the viewers are the absolute best. If you enjoyed this video and you want to watch my adventure videos, hit the backlog. Please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.